السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Fahim,
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله مروان.
what you saying, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. What about you?
Family good? Everything good?
Alhamdulillah. Can't complain.
Bro, alhamdulillah. Well, look, I just wanted to do a quick interview with you, bro. A student testimonial. There's a lot of guys that are kind of interested in Rizq Rise, that want to learn more about high ticket sales, that want to understand from a student point of view, right? For me, in the end of the day, when they see me talking about it, it's like, oh, this guy is talking about his company. But in the end of the day, when they hear a student's journey, they may be able to relate and understand what it takes to really win. So we're gonna go through a bit of a background check on your journey here, bro. If that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
Inshallah ta'ala bring some value to the surface, right? So yeah, man, I want to kind of start off with just an introduction of yourself, bro. Who are you? Where you from? What do you do? So on and so forth.
Yeah, myself. My name is Faheem Mohammed. So I'm 19 years old. I'm a full-time uni student. So I study dentistry in the UK. And at the same time, of course, I'm in high ticket sales now. And I'm also doing a few projects on the side. I've got a podcast, etc. But yeah, really, for me, sales was a really big kind of, it's always been something that I wanted to get into. And Alhamdulillah, now I'm in a place where I can, you know, delve more deep into it and reap the benefits, Alhamdulillah. But yeah, just really briefly, that's me.
Alhamdulillah, barakallahu feek, bro. I mean, look, bro, when we first got you started, I remember I was the one who was on the call with you. And you were teaching, you were tutoring, right? You were tutoring, you were on
Yeah.
TikTok doing some videos and you were tutoring. How much were you making at that time before you started this?
Yeah, that was I was making about probably £100 a week, I'll be honest. Um, yeah, I mean, I was probably that was probably about 8 months ago, making £100 a week. I wasn't really doing the best in terms of finances. I was trying my best in what I knew, but yeah, it wasn't a good time for me.
What you understood at that point, I believe, was like it's not about how hard I work, it's about what skills I have and what value I can bring to the table in order for me to really raise that price up or in that income up, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
definitely.
subhanAllah, we got you started, and I remember you came in like fire energy, ready to just really learn, hungry, driven.
Yeah.
People your age, 19, they're not really making money, bro. You know,
Mm,
19-year-olds in the average, world in the 9 to 5, or if they have a part-time job, they're not really making anything. They're just getting by,
mm.
really. But then you seen the opportunity of Rizq Rise. Why did you decide to join Rizq Rise, man?
So I think before Rizq Rise, I think it was settling on sales in the first place.
Mm,
And with me, I've always been quite logical in how I go about things. So even when I was doing the tutoring, I kind of set up like it's like a mini marketing thing. You said TikTok, so I used to make TikTok videos. But with sales especially, I understood that eventually I want to start a business, and the reason why I wanted to start a business was because it's the freedom of time, the freedom of location, which a lot of people go into it for. But it's honestly just being able to have control over your life as well. But that's the business side of things. But I always knew that in order to get there, you can't just teleport to owning a business that's successful, because there's so many different things that goes into actually having a business and running a business. And the most important one was sales. Because if you don't have sales, then you can't sell any service or product. So it was always in the back of my mind that, look, I want to kind of get into sales because I need it. But it was just a case of I didn't know how to go about it, right?
yeah.
I was watching YouTube videos, like some Instagram reels of objection handling. I thought that's all sales was, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sell me this pen, right? But then I came across Rizq guys and I saw you guys on Instagram. And what really stood out to me was, first of all, it wasn't even the sales aspect. I saw a video of your last retreat in Morocco, and I was looking at these guys, and I saw, these guys smiling, laughing, having fun, then knuckling down, serious, sales training and, tahajjud and everything together. And I thought, rah, this is exactly what I was looking for, right? So for me, it was kind of like I had to take that next step and book the call.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't easy then because I also knew that I had to invest in myself because opportunities like this doesn't come cheap because essentially you can go and learn it yourself, and I knew that was an option, but it was going to take too long and I would have made so many mistakes in the process. So when I saw you guys and when I hopped that call and you kind of walked me through every single step, and I thought, this is what I've been waiting for. I prayed the Tahajjud and I hopped on, and it put me in a kind of tight situation in terms
Yeah.
of my finances. But I knew that's what it takes in order to invest in yourself. And alhamdulillah, now the amount that I'm making is like double how much I invested, and that's like every single month.
How
So
much are you making
alhamdulillah,
right now, Fahim? Like,
right?
what are you hitting averagely?
Yeah, yeah. So I was hitting so over the past few months it's varied, so up to 5K per month. Now, recently it's yeah, it's around that 3 to 5K mark, but also because I decided to prioritize skills over income recently. Now, this is something I also want to mention. I don't know if you want to talk about this now or
Yeah,
later.
yeah, sure. Let me know, man. In the end of the day, look, you were making £400 a month.
Yeah.
You're in a position where you're making 3 to 5. There are people that have worked years and years and years in a job to make 5K income a month, right?
Mm.
You're hitting that at 19, bro. So don't look down on that. And here's the thing: I know you're looking down on that in a sense where it's like you should be getting more and you should be hitting more targets, but that's
Mm.
just because you're part of Rizq Rise.
Yeah.
Group at Rizq Rise, we're always like pushing and pushing and pushing. But if you go to a normal group, a normal set of brothers your age, that is successful. You reached a $5,000 £5,000 monthly mark. You've hit a milestone, man.
Mhm.
So I appreciate the small wins as much as the big ones, bro.
Alhamdulillah. That's something I want to touch on before I go into the skills aspect is actually how something like this can reset your perspective, right?
Yeah,
Because when I was doing tutoring, I thought, yo, you know what? I'm making like a bit of money from home, right? I'm sat at home, I don't have to work a part-time job or something. But when you're around people like in Rizq Rise, when I came into Rizq Rise and I saw Ayub made 18 grand in 2 weeks, I was like, ah, so this is possible. So
yeah,
this is what you can do. It was like a complete like mind blown moment
yeah.
because I was like, how? If you had told me before, like, oh yeah, you can make 18 grand in 2 weeks just going into like an industry.
You would have thought it was a scam.
Yeah, of course, man. I'd be like, yo, get out here with your crypto trading stuff. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, so this is possible. And then my mind started thinking, I said, okay, if this is possible, how is it possible?
Yeah,
And I think that step is what really propelled me. And when you said that I came in with the fire, that's why, because I thought, okay, it's possible. So, okay, I need to get to that step. How do I do that?
yeah.
And I think that was the biggest change for me is like, okay, now I know it's possible. Now I have to take those steps. So then I started learning from everyone around me. I started speaking to you, started speaking to Ayub. So, what did you guys do well? What do you guys not do as well? And at the end of the day, this also links into what I was about to say about the skills over income, which is that right now I'm in tech sales, right? A lot of people might not know what tech sales is. Essentially, it's a form of sales that's adjacent to high ticket sales. So I was in high ticket sales and I did some tech sales. But honestly, I could be making more money in high ticket sales, right?
100%.
But, and it's a big but, what I'm doing now is because of this mindset that I kind of got from, for example, you, right? You said this a lot, is that skills come first and then the income comes later.
Chase the scale, not the money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm now in a position where I am learning so quickly and propelling myself in terms of network so much that in the future, when I go and start that business, when I go and start whatever, I will have all those things in place where I could propel myself so much faster. So that's a big mindset change for me. But it was also just figuring out that it is possible and then just questioning and taking from everyone around me. I think that was a big thing for me.
Talk to me about some of the pros and the cons of your experience of it as a rise. What are some
Hmm.
pros and cons of what you've went through?
Interesting question. For pros, I'll start with pros. Um, Actually, I'll start with cons, right?
Go ahead.
Some cons is that actually you really need to leave everything that you thought you know behind. And that's very difficult to do sometimes. Because imagine someone like me, for example, going down the education route. Right? We're in uni and we say, okay, so you graduate from uni. My course is 5 years, by the way. Dentistry is 5 years long. A lot of courses are 3 years long. So it's like, okay, so you graduate from uni, so that's 3 to 5 years. Okay, then what? Okay, now you're on a job making like 25 grand, 30 grand a year. Okay, then what? So then you work another 4 or 5 years and you get experience and you get into senior role. Maybe you're making like 60 grand. Okay, then what? Then maybe you can make 100 grand after 10 years. Okay. Then when you come into something like this and you're like, yo, you can make, like, are you 18 grand in 2 weeks, right? You can make that amount of money, but everything that you thought you knew, you have to chuck out the window. Your entire mental framework that you had, and how you learned from things and your preconceived notions, you had to leave them at the door.
You got to
And that's
reprogram
difficult
your
for a lot of
mind,
people.
really.
Sorry?
You got to program your mind, really, innit?
Definitely. And that's what I had to undergo on really quickly is that, and it's difficult because it's uncomfortable. You know, when you're doing something that's outside your comfort zone and you get like this tight feeling inside your chest where you're almost pulling back. That's very big in the beginning. And what people need to understand is that that is the price you have to pay for change as well. Because if you want to change, you have to take that step outside your comfort zone. I want to ask, because you speak about that a lot, right?
100%, for sure.
Hmm. And that's one of the cons, right? You have to leave everything behind. Another con, or you can call it a con, is the amount that you want to get out of something like this is dependent on how much you have to put in as well. Now, with sales, people see commission, uncapped commission, or people don't understand that uncapped commission means uncapped effort as well. The more effort,
Facts.
yeah.
Wallahi.
If you want to make the money, and I've seen this with a lot of the guys in Rizq Rise as well. If you want to make the money, you have to put as much effort in as the money you have to make. And people think that, as you said before, it's not get rich quick. By far, it's a skill. So that's another con, is that people have that preconceived notion. Now onto the pros. Um, One of the pros is again, so it resets your perspective. You know what's possible. But also, another pro is, being around people in that same space who have that mindset, who have done it before, you're able to learn at a rate that you never thought you would before. For example, if you've got a guy and he's been working in the space for about 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right, and you're just getting into the space now, what you could do if you're learning it alone, as I mentioned before, is you can get in there and you can spend this amount of time and make all these mistakes, and then eventually you'll get to that spot. But if you know a guy and that guy has made it already, you can ask from him and say, okay, what mistakes you made? And he'll tell you exactly, okay, do this, don't do this, don't do that. And I think with mentorship as well, this has been the biggest thing for me, is that, for example, you and Ayub, like a decade plus of sales experience together, learning from that, it's almost like I'm 19 now, but I now have the knowledge and the know-how of someone who's 29, who's 30, who's gone past a decade of experience. So that's the biggest pro I feel like, is you're able to learn at a rate that you'd never be able to without a community or a network like that.
Do you know what you mentioned? That only works when you are super coachable and you become a student to the knowledge, like to the game, bro. If you are not gonna submit to the information and really apply it fast, then you won't understand that. Because there's guys that have come in straight up, there's guys that have come into programs before that have access to good mentorship or good knowledge or good, resources, and they will not see it the way you just said. So
Mm,
it is an internal mindset that you have that's allowed that to happen. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
All right, cool. Fahim, what about the mentorship itself stood out for you? I'm sure you've seen other,
yeah.
platforms and whatnot. What about Rizq Rise stood out for you the most?
Mhm. One of the biggest thing is the method of sales. So from an actual sales standpoint, is the way that sales is taught in the program as well. So one of the biggest things is ethical sales, and actually viewing sales as, I know I mentioned it before as a joke of objection handling and all this and sales tactics that you might learn online. Like that's not sales. And I thought that was sales when I came in. I thought, okay, psychology is kind of like, right, they say this, I need to say this specific number of words and I need to get a yes this many times and then I can kind of twist it this way. No, it's not. What I realize, and especially the way it's taught in the program, is sales is just being able to help someone by asking skilled questions to get them to open up, and then once you found their needs and goals, then you can address that with your product or your service, right?
As a solution. Yeah.
Yeah, as a solution, right? And that was probably one of the best things for me, is because that framework, it's not just sales tactics that you're taught in this situation, do this, in this, do that. It's actually a framework and a mindset where you can take that and apply it to anything you want, right?
Fact.
We were talking briefly before about my podcast, for example,
Let's
right?
let's highlight that for a second because
Yeah,
I wanted to bring you in as, a student of Rizq Rise, alhamdulillah. How long did it take you to land the role, by the way, to get into like making money, basically?
about 3, 4 weeks.
Within a month. Okay, so
Yeah.
you came in fresh, brand new, no experience within a month, landed the role, alhamdulillah. You're making money, and then you decide to come to one of our events. I want to highlight this as well because you came to one of our events. You traveled all the way from the north of the UK to London, and I remember you didn't have money because you just started. You just invested all your money into the program, so you really didn't have anything, right? You could barely pay for the train ticket, but you made your way, bro,
Hmm.
and you took the journey, and you were the first guy at the event. You're the first guy sitting in the front row, the last guy to leave. In fact, you didn't even leave. I liked your commitment so much that I was like, bro, are you staying in London tonight? And you said, I don't know. I said, come back. You're staying in our Airbnb with us. So you spent the whole night with us, with me and Ayub and the team and whatnot. And that's where we genuinely connected with each other and really got to know each other on a deep level. But there was a level of like commitment that you took, bro. As
Hmm.
soon as you took action inside the program, you were like, I'm all in,
Hmm.
right? And shortly after you landing a role, you did something else, which was very, mashallah, Allahumma barik, very special, right? Which was you sat together between you and you and yourself, and you're thinking, okay, I have this skill of sales. I'm in dentistry. I'm 19. I know how to present myself really well. I've been able to network with these kind of guys, and I understand a lot of human psychology. Why don't I do something that relates to me, my brand, my name, my industry, and uses all the skills that I developed in the last, 3 months?
Yeah.
You decided to open up your own podcast.
Yeah.
And this is not just one of those, because people when they hear podcasts, they're like, just open the YouTube channel and made it. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. The first thing you did, bro, and I want to highlight this, is you went and you sat with the giants of the dentistry industry
Mm-hmm.
with no podcast, no setup, no brand, no nothing. You're just a 19-year-old kid with an idea, right? I don't mean kid, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
You came with an idea to the table. You sat down with the giants, with Colgate, with who else did you sat with? Did you sit with?
Dentally, Henry Shine.
Yeah, you sat down with these other companies and you managed to lock in sponsorship. Tell me exactly, what inspired that change after high
Yeah.
ticket sales and what happened there.
Yeah. So I knew that sales, for example, is like a building block in success, right? I mentioned it before with the business.
Yeah.
So I viewed sales as not only a way of making money, but also as a tool to allow me to access different opportunities as well. So when I sat down and I thought, okay, I can speak really well. I know the issues or the things that are happening within dentistry. I know where the demand is. And also, I wanted a way of getting my name out there as well. So it's many factors.
Mm.
But one of the things that I wanted to do, and you mentioned about sitting down with the companies, is that okay, we started doing this podcast, we filmed this podcast or whatever, right? But we hadn't released anything, we hadn't done anything. There was no proof of concept whatsoever. But
It
we
was just an
thought,
idea. It was just an idea, man. That's all it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And we were like, how do we sell an idea? But we had to do it, right? We had money to pay for like setup and editing it. We had to do it. So we used various networks and connections to get meetings with these two companies. One of which is Colgate, which is multi-billion-dollar company. So we sat down in the meeting, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
As soon as we get into the meeting, the first thing that they say, and it's not exactly, but this is what they were trying to get at, is that we don't need you, right? They said we don't need you. We've already got awareness. We've already got attention. But in that situation, I had two options. Number one, I could say, no, we're so amazing. This is what we can do. This is what not. But then I thought, hang on, I'm trying to sell myself to them. So then I thought back to Rizq Rise and I thought back to that framework that I mentioned before. And I thought, you know what? Let me try this. So I started asking questions.
Discovery
Uh,
phase.
yeah. I asked, okay, so what type of sponsorship have you done before in the past? What do you look for? What are your challenges, this and that? And I got them speaking. And within 15 minutes, I'd pitched the idea in a way that it addressed their concerns. And by a week later, we had gotten multiple five figures of funding from this company and the other company. Right now, we're up to about over 30,000 pounds worth of funding, and we're
30
halfway through
grand.
the
Hold
first.
up, bro.
Yeah,
Hold
yeah,
up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. You went from an idea,
yeah.
seen a gap in the market from your current, industry that you're in, which is dentistry. Took all the skills from high ticket sales, what is Rise and everything developed from there. Went and approached the big, players in the industry, locked in £30,000 plus worth of sponsorship in the bank for you to run this part. Like that's insane to know that you 8 months ago jumped on a call with me, you were making £400 a month. And to
Mm,
see you now making 5K a month, running your own, operation, raising funds for it, building a brand, building this, building that, all within the same year, subhanAllah.
mm,
And the reason why I'm emphasizing this real quick right now is because people need to understand the power of taking action. Because a lot of people say, I'll do it next month, I'll do it in the summer, I'll do it when I finish exams, I'll do it when I'm comfortable, I'll do it. None of this works. These guys, they don't really move forward in life, right? And until time starts to catch up with them when they're coming to their late 20s and they're like, oh, subhanAllah, I haven't really done anything. I haven't. That's when they wonder and they realize, like, wow, I should have, taken the opportunity, or I should
Mhm.
have. And that's the opposite with you. You've taken every opportunity. In fact, I want to highlight real quick over this as well is the opportunity of networking. You know, I remember when you first joined the Rizq Rise, I jumped on a call with you and I said to you, Fahim, you need to go and you need to network. And you said, what do I do? I said, do this, 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 this. And straight away, the next day, I remember you called me. You were on a train, traveling the country, going to attend networking events. In fact, you actually flew out to Dubai, if I'm not mistaken, as well, correct?
Yes.
Who paid for that trip?
The company I work for.
So you got a free trip to Dubai to go
Yeah.
and network with, very high profile people within your industry, correct?
Yes.
And that is something else that people need to understand. Networking is so important because it opens doors, builds charisma, builds confidence, puts yourself in a position of authority, allows you to have access to resources and individuals on a personal basis. It does so much, man.
Mhm.
And, speaking of networking, I also want to highlight you came to Rizq Rise because you've seen a retreat, correct?
Yes.
We have a retreat coming up literally in about 10 days, and you're coming to that retreat,
Of course.
which is insane, bro. When you
Yeah.
think all of this happened within, 7, 8 months that you've been a part of the program,
Yeah. Yeah.
subhanallah, bro. Sometimes we don't know how far we come, Fahim, until we sit back and we kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
crack it and think to ourselves, like, subhanallah, like 8 months ago, I was in a tough spot. I wasn't doing really well. My mental state, my skill sets, my income, everything was down. And with the permission of Allah, of course, Allah Azza wa Jalla is the provider, He's the Razzaq. But with your efforts of taking action and pushing, you've changed that situation for yourself,
Yeah.
bro.
I
SubhanAllah.
think that's the biggest thing. I think people a lot of the time look to the past or look to the future and think, okay, I want to be at this point in time. I want to, okay, in 6 months, I want to be doing this, 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 this. But they don't realize is in order to get to there, you need to take the steps every single day as well. Like one connection that you might make on a train or at this event, and then you see them again one other time. And then maybe this person had gone to speak to another person about you, and you don't know what's happening and unless you take the small steps. And for me, for landing that role, for being able to contact these companies, all of it is just taking action, and it's all about the opportunities that you have. First and foremost, they're an opportunity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of people don't realize that when they make dua and they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open doors for them, that you still have to take the action and step through the door yourself, and
Mm.
you never know what door might open because the nature of rizq and the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants rizq is that, I mean, they come from directions that are completely unknown, right? Who would have thought that me meeting this guy at my first ever networking event would lead to me landing a job through a connection he had, to being able to contact companies and these through other people who I know,
That's
right?
called top routing, bro.
Yeah.
That's called top routing right there. Bro, I want to emphasize one more thing here on you. Actually, two more points. The first point is the Rizq Rise hub, the community
Mm.
itself, right? Because you're pretty much a very important person inside the Rizq Rise. A lot of brothers reach out to you. A lot of brothers have a good connection with you. What's that? What's that like, man? Tell us more about the Rizq Rise community itself.
Yeah, it's a really it's really inspiring, or it's really positive to see that there are a lot of brothers out there who are now taking that initiative and doing exactly what I mentioned before, which is that trying to learn from as many people as possible. And I think within Rizq Rise, there's that community and there's that mindset of helping each other, not only because of business and connections that, but because of helping each other for the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. That's the biggest thing as well. And a lot of these guys, when they reach out to me, and they're doing incredible things as well, right? That is, it's about helping each other. And we have that above every other community that's out there, right? Any other community you might go to, yeah, okay, you're there because you're part of this community. But we have something even greater, which is that we're doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know that we can help each other, and our reward, if it doesn't happen in this dunya, then we have it in akhirah. But I mean, with the Rizq Rise community itself and these guys reaching out to me, it really makes me feel good being able to give back to these guys and knowing that I was there in their position not too long ago. So in the future they can grow as well. But Alhamdulillah, it's really, inspiring to see.
100%. Habibi, last thing I want to cover on Fahim is schedule and calendar. Because honestly, this is something that a lot of people are missing out on in life, and they don't understand that, your boss is your calendar. If you can really lock in to your time frames and your time zones and you can do your things, on time, then you push the needle forward on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You're running your high ticket sales role. You are a full-time dental student. You are traveling, commuting to uni, I
Yeah.
think an hour and a
Yeah.
half, 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're running your podcast. You're doing all this on 19. How are you able to manage your time, and where did you learn that structure? What happened there?
I think the first thing people need to understand is that when you have your goal and you want to achieve something, you have to basically say goodbye to procrastination. You have to say goodbye to time wasting. So the first thing people need to accept is that if you really want to succeed, then in terms of your free time, everything should be spent either towards your business, towards doing what you want, your family, or towards developing your deen. So that's the first thing you need to get inside your head. The second thing is, yeah, you mentioned it, calendar, and I got this from you especially because you stressed that and you said this, you said, show me your calendar, I'll show you how much money you make, right?
Yeah.
And from then, I built my calendar in a really specific way in that yeah, you mentioned, so I'll do 20 hours a week of studying, or sorry, 20 hours a week at the role that I have. I do another 30 to 40 hours a week of studying. Then on top of that, I've got the podcast as well, and then commuting an hour each way. Now, the way that I use this is time blocking. So whenever I go into my calendar, I have to set out exactly how many hours I'm doing which task, and I follow my calendar like nothing else. Like no matter what, unless something really emergency happens, no matter what, I'm following that calendar, right? If that calendar says I'm waking up at this time, I'm waking up at this time, I'm getting the train at this time, I'm doing this at this time. And within that calendar, then, and this is something that you told me, and this is a critique that you told me, is that the calendar has to be really specific, such
Yeah.
that when you sit down, you have to know exactly what you're doing at each point in time. If you've got a 1 hour block, you need to know, okay, I'm doing these four tasks at this time. I'm setting internal deadlines within the task itself. First 15 minutes, I'm doing this. Next half an hour, I'm doing this. But you need to really make basically extract everything from your brain and put it onto the calendar, such
Mm.
that you don't even need to think. You just follow.
You
So
just
that's
follow.
been the biggest thing for me.
You're just creating a roadmap for yourself, and you're just following
Yeah.
your own roadmap, man. 100%. Habibi, look, I really appreciate you, bro. May Allah bless you. Really, really fired up to see what's to come. You're someone that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I see that you will do a lot of good things in your life, inshallah, if Allah gives you the ability to do so. Um, any last messages, bro, for anyone viewing this that may be interested in Rizq Rise or want to learn more or have an idea to think about it? What is your
Yeah.
what do you want to say about that? Yeah,
Yeah. Number one, and this is something that a lot of you will have gotten from the whole podcast, is take action. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you know you're scared, even if you're not making that much, right? Even if you've got this to do, that to do, nothing's going to change if you don't change, right? And if you're not taking the steps forward, then you're taking steps backward,
literally.
right? So, I mean, take that step, invest in yourself, because that's the only way you're going to move forward. Make dua, have tawakkul, and inshallah, if you're taking the action and valuing every single opportunity as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're putting as much as you can into those opportunities, you're taking the most out of these opportunities, then bi'idhnillah in the future, then you will succeed. It's a simple plan, but no one follows it, right? So all you need to do is put in the action.
Simple advice, man. Appreciate that. Well, look, for the viewers watching this, if you want to plug in to Rizq Rise, learn more, see if this is a good fit for you, and if you're a good fit for us, importantly as well, then click the link below, get yourself involved, inshallah, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Fahim, salam alaikum, bro. Take care, bro.
Alaikum salam.